Welcome. My name is Marta DeSpiva-Legan, and I'm here with my colleague, Vanessa Baldini-Sawyer. The purpose of this presentation is to provide a virtual walkthrough of an ELA lesson that is housed in a Bitmoji classroom. The structure of the lesson will be analyzed as a means to model ways to maximize student engagement, the joy of learning, and integration of selective technology to support the learning. Important anchor charts and materials will be highlighted that align with our District 11 goal to strengthen social-emotional learning and culturally responsive school environments. The virtual classroom can foster a sense of community by including items that represent both you and your students' backgrounds. For today's presentation, we're using Lesson 10 from ELA Education, Grade 5, Module 1, Unit 1. The title of the first module is Stories of Human Rights. The first part of the lesson opening will be about story structure. It's nice to greet students with a friendly note and an overview of the lesson with a guiding question. A Google form was created for the entrance ticket. This provides ease and organization of collecting student responses and allows for later analysis for formative assessment. After students have completed the entrance ticket, they should be invited to share responses using the chat feature of the online Google Classroom. As students share out, their responses are captured on the Structure of Esperanza Rising anchor chart.
In the second part of the opening, students' attention is directed to the learning targets. A volunteer may be selected to unmute and read the learning targets aloud, or a student can be selected from the class wheel of names. Students can be invited to respond in the chat, "What is a text-based discussion?" After reading the responses, one or two student volunteers may be asked to unmute and share with the whole group. In Work Time A, students will be preparing for a text-based discussion. This will begin with asking students to open a tab with their copy of the Preparing for a Text-Based Discussion note catcher. Students can use the digital copy of the book if needed. Students are asked to select only one chapter to complete the Preparing for a Text-Based Discussion note catcher. This allows for student choice in selecting a section that was particularly meaningful to them. Students are also reminded to use the anchor chart as a starting point, as this lists many of the threats to human rights that they have already identified. It's always good to model using an example as shown here. Students can use the Read and Write Google Chrome extension to help them create and access digital content in a way that personalizes the learning. Some of the literacy support features include checking spelling, dictionary that plays the word,
preparing,
a picture dictionary, reading the text,
preparing for a text-based discussion note catcher. How would the human right,
screen masking to help focus, talk and type that allows you to speak right into the document, a translator,
documento,
and a read aloud feature to practice fluency. There are many tools to help every student meet their full potential.
Students can go beyond what is listed on the anchor chart and infuse elements of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights to support their claims. Students are also reminded to use their quoting accurately from the text handout. Now students begin asynchronously working. This is a time when individual students or small groups of students can be supported.
We have one last tool to show to support student agency with this work. Multilingual learners can use the Google Translate extension, which has many different language options if needed. There are also options to translate an entire page.
Students are told that sometimes the things we discuss in class or the text we read can be upsetting. It is important to mention this to allow students to feel safe in their learning environments. ELA education has considerations for cultural responsiveness that can be referred to for support if needed. Students will be told the focus for the day will be on empathy and compassion for being an ethical person. Students will then be invited to share using the chat feature of the virtual classroom before adding their responses to the anchor chart. These words can also be added to the academic word wall in the Bitmoji classroom and on Jamboard, where students can be invited to add translations in their home language as shown here. Students use the thermometer protocol to reflect on their progress towards the first learning target with their cameras on before continuing.
During Part B of the work time, students are guided through norms for a text-based discussion they will have in small groups. The discussion norms anchor chart is reviewed to prepare students. Additionally, the criteria for cues and responses is reviewed for added support.
The Working to Become Ethical People anchor chart is shared, and students are told they will be having a collaborative discussion taking these habits of character into consideration. Before they are sent out from the whole group, students are reminded to have the note catcher they completed in work time available while they're in the breakout group so all members can contribute to the conversation. There should be 3 to 5 students per group depending on class size, and the timer should be set for 10 minutes. Each breakout group should be visited and notes should be made of any common issues that could be used as teaching points. A 2-minute warning message should be sent when the time is coming to a close to support students with their pacing. Once back from the breakouts, Pear Deck is another option to privately check in with students on their progress towards the next learning target. Here are a few other ways Pear Deck can be used to formatively assess students' learning.
To close out the session, students complete a Google Form exit ticket. A Bitmoji can be used to close the session with gratitude, reminders, and next steps. When concluding, students are reminded of the homework assignment or independent journal activity.
Here are other ways to engage students during remote learning. Students can use a digital notebook to record independent reading journal entries, vocabulary definitions, scripts for their performance task monologues, keeping digital portfolios, and more. Jamboard can be used by all students to add information related to the UDH articles discussed during module lessons and to engage in protocols like See, Think, Wonder and Sentence, Phrase, Word. Teachers can use Edpuzzle to formatively assess learning during asynchronous time, as shown here with this What Are Human Rights video that has embedded questions set as strategic stopping points. The questions can be multiple choice or open-ended.
With Flipgrid, students can record responses to a prompt after watching a human rights video. With the Seesaw platform, students can respond to activities posted with photos, drawings, videos, and notes. It's also where teachers can share students' final performance tasks with families, like the monologue students will write and record at the end of Unit 3.
Keeping a virtual classroom library with links to reading material is a great way to encourage independent reading. Be sure to leave room in your virtual library to add books as the units progress. Here, we've added a virtual read aloud for our anchor text Esperanza Rising to offer students additional access.
Marta and I would like to thank you for your engagement during our presentation. We would like to invite you to our open office hours that are offered twice a week on Mondays and Wednesdays from 2 to 3 p.m. and can be accessed through the Teams link. Our emails are posted and we are always available to support you. We wish you well and thank you for your hard work and dedication on our remote instruction journey. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.